In 2007, Ray Crouch's position came to an end. After 9 years with his former company, some of the operations were transferred overseas and some to other plants. Wondering how you're going to feed your family can take a toll on a man quickly. Ray had already earned his associate's degree by attending night classes, but had his eyes on a bachelor's degree. And thanks to the Workforce Investment Act, now known as the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, or WIOA, Ray didn't have to worry long.
So that through the Workforce Investment Act, they were able to help me finish my schooling and help pay for that.
While working his way through school, Ray continued to work hard to provide for his family.
I did a little bit of painting. I was doing some concrete work, just to kind of make ends meet. But as soon as I got done with school, I knew I wanted to be able to get into some kind of field where I could utilize my degree.
Though Job Center staff engage frequently with their clients, after a certain amount of time, it's easy to lose touch as clients like Ray meet their goals and keep moving forward in their career pathways. That was not the case with Ray. He would once again come face to face with Job Center staff through the Central Ozarks Private Industry Council, also known as COPIC, a subcontractor for the Central Workforce Development Region. This time, it was for a job interview.
There was an opening at COPIC for a job placement specialist that I saw, and I had no idea what that was, just from the description, so I thought I'd give it a try. I've got to know a little bit some of the folks up there. I went and interviewed for that job with Trish Rogers, and there were a couple other folks in there. And to this day, she'll tell you that I wasn't wearing a belt, and she almost didn't hire me. But I promise I was. I wasn't wearing a belt that day that matched my shoes. So I was able to get that job as job placement specialist. And I remember my first day on the job. She had that old, it was a Crown Vic, big old boat, a big red car, I remember. And she and another lady wanted to show me around to the areas. The first place we drove was Potosi. And I was sitting in the back of that thing, and it just swayed and rocked, and I was motion sick. I was car sick so bad, but I didn't want to let her know. But I was sicker than a dog in the back of that car that first day on the job. So that was a good way to start. But it was a great place to work. I really enjoyed the work that I did there because I knew what it was like to be looking for a job, and that. So it was very rewarding to be able to help people find jobs and work with employers who were working, looking for people and stuff too. So to, put those together and help offset some of those wages to incentivize those employers it was very rewarding work, and I really enjoyed working with the youth too. I got to do some of that, so that was neat. You have kids working and kind of not really maybe enthused or engaged about the work, but to encourage them to work through it and know that when you get through this, you'll look back and be glad you did, and to see that happen, happen a few times. So that was very rewarding too. So I really enjoyed the work.
Helping others find their career pathways the same way the Job Center helped Ray was a great stepping stone for his next career pathway.
I worked for COPIC for about a year, a little over a year. Like I said, really enjoyed the work, but I had an opportunity to come on board at Mo-Sci, where I work now. I knew one of the gentlemen at the time. He was the COO. Said they had some opportunities, so I got on here.
But once again, that wouldn't be the end of Ray's involvement in helping the Central Region strengthen communities through workforce development efforts. Ray's next stop? Joining the Central Workforce Development Board, which exists to implement the Workforce Investment Act principles so that local residents gain access to career opportunities and employers can build the workforce they need for success.
That would have been, I think it was a little over 6 or 7 years ago that happened. That was back when we were having meetings on site. That was a normal thing. We mix it up, have them in Rolla, Jeff City, was a different site. It seemed like each meeting.
As a board member, you often see things from a different perspective when working more behind the scenes than on the front lines. As a career manager, for example, Ray was able to gain some great insight on all that's offered from those who give their time to serving on the board.
When you're in the program, you just know the program that you're in. So I just know that they're going to help me pay for school, and I have to, work back and forth. They got to know where I'm at, how my grades are, and how things are going. And that's, you get kind of focused on that, and you don't realize really all the other services and all the other work that's going on. And going to the board, but then also working with COPIC, just getting somebody registered in the system, what a process that is. And I think that's one thing that clients don't necessarily understand. I remember going through it and I was like, well, why do you need to know all that, and stuff. And so, it just gave me a better idea of, well, there are reasons behind that, and they're important, and it all comes down to, I really feel like it's not that, we're trying to make things hard on anybody or anything, but in order to offer these programs, we have certain criteria that we have to meet, so that's why it's important to have those processes in place. And I think it's good too to try and kind of help explain that to folks. I'm not just trying to make it hard on you or anything here. I just this is why we do it, and this is why it's important and stuff. But just realizing after getting on the board, the variety of programs and people that it actually does help. I knew it helped me, and I knew it helped dislocated workers, but in youth. But there's just so many other angles to it and stuff. And there's a lot of work that goes into keeping track of all the money, and the different programs and stuff. And so it really takes a good team to keep that wheel turning smooth. And I thought that's what was neat about the board was, I'm not that creative guy that just comes up with stuff. I'm more like, okay, you come up with the ideas, and then I'm the guy that does the work. So what I thought was neat, especially being on the board, was just how many smart people are on the board. It makes there's those folks that are always contributing. And you have a meeting, they always speak up and stuff. And I never really was that guy, but I would if I thought there was something to be said. But that's what I thought was interesting, that so many times maybe we didn't start out with the right idea, but you got enough input that you eventually ended up with, yeah, that makes sense, that's the way to go. And people were always real good about taking other people's input and not being so proud of their idea that they weren't willing to accept somebody else's. And I think that's important.
Though it's been over 15 years since Ray's career was pushed forward thanks to WIOA, he still looks back on those days with gratitude.
When Briggs shut down, my wife was gone through school to be a teacher, but we had 3 young boys, and because of and wanted her to be able to stay at home. So we sacrificed a lot, and that was fine. It was the decision we made. But with being able to finish school, I knew would have a big impact on my future. So that was super important. And because of the funding, I was able to finish my bachelor's degree in business, majored in management. And as a result of that, my wife's working now. Our kids are in school. But without that, we wouldn't be in the position, the place we are now as a family. So we've been very blessed. Our boys are blessed. My family's been blessed. And it's had an impact every single year, since then. And it's just, I had the services back from 2007 to 2010 or so. But it's really because of that, I've been able, to, my wages have increased, but that's all a direct result of being able and the assistance that, came from the WIOA funding.
The program offered through WIOA and the Central Workforce Development Region play a large role in the contribution to the overall economic growth and development in the 19 counties served in Central Missouri. So many clients like Ray have been able to achieve their goals and dreams and find a career pathway that truly allows them to use their talents to make a greater impact on the world.
Folks are getting the education that they need. They're getting the assistance that they need to get into those jobs and get those skills to get those jobs that actually provide a wage that they can raise a family with. In my mind, that's important. A lot of jobs, when manufacturing started to decline, those are a lot of jobs that were the backbone of America. Where you didn't have to go to college, you had a good wage. You had benefits, and you could grow in your job. So, a lot of that's gone. But with the programs that that the WIB has for healthcare, you can get in good jobs there, and stuff. Trucking, just the different programs working with offenders when they get out, So those are folks that are contributing to society, and they wouldn't be able to do that necessarily or as much if they didn't have the funding from WIB.
As someone who's been through various stages of professional growth, Ray shared with us a little advice on what skills he thinks are essential for long-term career advancement.
I think being humble is real important. As I mentioned earlier, not being so proud of your ideas that you're not willing to entertain others. One thing you learn is that there's a lot of smart people out there, and then being able to take their ideas and like I said, just not be so proud that you're not willing to look at theirs as well. And then also making relationships, I think, is a super important thing for folks to do. You can have a lot of education and book smarts and that, but being able to relate to people, I think, is really a big key. Finding that common ground, to work with somebody. You may be different than that person in a lot of ways, but you'll find something that's common, and using that as a foundation to build that relationship, so you can work towards that common goal, I think, is real important for people.
Ray is proud of all of his accomplishments at Mo-Sci, and he should be, having worked his way up from entry level to management. Ray shared with us his moves up the career ladder.
I started as an entry level technician, so I was on the ground up. I worked with a project, a good project that we still have. Did that for a couple of years, then bounced around to some other areas, just trying to learn the different processes that we have here. There's a lot of different things. I did that for a few years. I was able to be promoted to an R&D, research and development coordinator. So that was kind of coordinating some of the projects, making sure like a few of the technicians, that they were working on their different projects and getting their paperwork done and that kind of thing. I did that for a few years, and then was able to apply for and received the position of director of manufacturing. So I've been doing that for about 7 years now. It's basically covering all of manufacturing. So anything from what raw materials we're getting in, working with procurement, working with quality to make sure what we're getting in is good and what we're making is good, working with the different coordinators, again, coordinating the equipment, the processes, the projects, the different technicians. And then fairly recently, we were able to, as a company, purchase another facility that was similar to ours with the installation and development of those processes. I was also taking on the role of facilities manager. So I'm still doing the manufacturing, director of manufacturing, but I'm also working with the facilities group and heading that up. So
Ray Crouch's time serving on the Central Workforce Development Board came to an end in the summer of 2023 as he focuses on his new director role within Mo-Sci. The Central Region is a better place because of Ray's hard work, his belief in the programs offered through WIOA, and his gratefulness for the assistance he received, putting him on a career pathway where he continues to invest in the lives of others. We asked Ray for some words of wisdom for those who may not believe they can truly find their dream career pathway, someone who just can't see past their current situation.
Don't give up, because you can. I mean, that's one of those things. That's the difference, is not giving up. I mean, sometimes, very seldom does anybody just get lucky. It's usually hard work and perseverance is what gets you to where you want to be. I mean, that's, in my mind, that's the bottom line, is just grit and sticking with it. When you're in the middle of something that seems really hard, but you got to realize at the end of that it'll be worth it. You'll look back and you'll be like, okay, it grew a lot. That's when you're growing, is when things are hard.
Thank you, Ray, for your service to the Central Workforce Development Board and for inspiring us to keep reaching for our dreams. To learn more about the Central Region, visit cwdregion.com.